Bitcoin is currently sitting at $82,900, and right now, as it stands, Friday, November 21st, we're on top of the 100 moving average. If by this Sunday we close below there, we are going to lose it, and we are going to touch the 200 moving average. Now, the RSI for the weekly is now at 31.26. And we can look at the previous bottom lows was 24 back in June of 2022. And then also the previous bear market low was November 8, 2018 was 25. So we're closer to being at the previous bear market lows on the weekly than not. But it's just been day after day after day of just falling off a cliff. We are now in the most bearish posture on the moving averages at this point. Even so, even being in the most bearish though, you don't just fall in a straight line. This is definitely a clear downtrend, but what I anticipate to happen sooner rather than later, and we are beyond due. But right now on the daily RSI, we're at 14.9, and I went through the history of all the times we have been this low, and I put a line here on the daily RSI going back for the past 15 years, and what we can see is every single time that we have gotten this low over the past 15 years for Bitcoin, we have minimum gotten a 20% bounce. There are some occasions where we go lower, like this one right here. This was probably the best case for the bears right now. Back in August, you had a 21% bounce from this low before 44 days making a new low 44 days later. This was the bottom when we got this low. As you can see, this was a local bottom, immediate 30% bounce. Let's continue on. This was the December 2018. We can see that this was the bear market low as well. Technically, we went 8% lower, I believe, 9% lower, but not before an immediate 26% bounce. And then this was near the bear market low anyways. Over here, September 19, that was the same thing. We had an immediate 20, what is this percentage here? 25% bounce. Then the C19 crash, we had an immediate 100% bounce. We have never went lower. And then the other times was in May of 2022, which was right here. We had a 24% bounce, eventually 28% bounce, and eventually went lower 46 days later. The Luna collapse was the selling climax of the entire market. You had an immediate 40% bounce before 144 days later making a new low. FTX also did not even get this low. The war in Israel, same thing. Technically, this was August when we made the low on the RSI. We went 1.3% lower before then immediate 30% bounce. And then the last time was April. This was technically March of 2025. And we can see we eventually went lower. So we were at 78K. We eventually went to 77K, followed by 74K. However, the immediate thing that happened first was a 21% bounce, and here we are again. So this is kind of what I expect. I expect us to go lower at this point. I expect us to go to probably 70K. That also is typically what happens. What you see, the previous low is the previous high, and you might say the 2017 high was 20,000. To that you'd be correct, but we were only at that level for one singular day. But you can look at where is the actual structure of the height, and it's right at here, about $16,000. And then we zoom out, where was the 2022 bear market low? It was $16,000. So the structural move of the support, so there you go, you can see that is probably about that $65,000, somewhere in there. Also, there's a lot of support over here, so I think we're eventually going to go there. The question is, how long is it going to take? And the question is, when is this first bounce going to come out? Because we are past due at this point. Typically what you see in bear markets is the first big leg, there's not really a reason, it just kind of happens. And then the second leg, after you have an initial bounce, like I'm predicting, then you start seeing the reasons. You'll start to see your exchanges going to zero, which, by the way, get your money off of exchanges right now. I cannot be more serious. If you take away one thing from this video, I cannot be more serious. Get your money off exchanges right now. You'll start to see the problems start to rear their head in the next wave after we get a bounce. That's what you'll start to see. You'll start to see Voyager, BlockFi, and all these exchanges going to zero. That's what starts happening. But that is what I think. I do think that we're closer to being done than not, especially looking at the weekly, knowing that the previous two bear markets was at 25 and we're at 31 right now. So it's like we're way closer than not. But that's my thoughts on the market for today. Also, the one thing that was big was the Fed watch has completely flipped. So yesterday, this was 60% chance no cuts. Today, it's 75% chance cuts, and that's because Japan is doing stimulus packages. So this is a big development, and this could be in support of like, hey, we're a lot closer than we think. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Follow me for more, you savages.